In today's video, we're diving deep into the hidden spiritual battle that unfolds when you stand firm against manipulation. If you've ever felt the weight of someone's toxic control or experienced aggressive pushback from a narcissist, this video is for you. We'll explore how your resistance is not just a personal stand, it's a spiritual battle between light and darkness. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the narcissist's aggression is not about you, but about the truth you represent. You'll learn how to protect your peace, strengthen your emotional resilience, and recognize the signs that you are standing in divine purpose. Don't miss out on these powerful lessons, because your presence in the world matters, and the truth you carry has the power to disrupt even the darkest forces. Stay with us until the end to uncover the truth behind the battles you're facing and how to emerge stronger than ever. Before we start, I'd appreciate your support. If you liked the video, please subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated on future lessons from God. How can you know with certainty that you are God's final warning to someone? How can you discern whether you have been chosen for this profound divine purpose? 5 unmistakable signs will reveal to you that you are not just another person in your life. No, you are God's last call, His ultimate plea to turn from destruction, a signal that the doors of mercy are about to close forever. 1. They are inexplicably drawn to you, but at the same time they harbor a deep and overwhelming resentment toward you. It is as though a powerful, mysterious force is pulling them toward you, a force they cannot escape, nor fully understand. At first it may appear as though they are captivated by you, your strength, your kindness, your unwavering faith. They may seem enamored with your presence, drawn to your authentic light like a moth to the flame. But lurking beneath this surface attraction lies a bitterness, a toxic resentment that simmers just below the surface. Why does this happen? Why this paradox of fascination and loathing? It is because when you walk in the truth of God, your very existence challenges their carefully constructed false reality. Your presence exposes the darkness they so desperately try to keep hidden. Your authenticity is a threat to their facade, their ego-driven delusions of grandeur. In John 3:20, it is written, "Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed." This powerful verse speaks directly to the inner turmoil that occurs when a narcissist encounters someone chosen by God. They are irresistibly pulled toward you, but they cannot bear what you represent, the purity, the truth, the clarity that shines through you like a beacon in the night. You walk in the light of God, and in doing so, you expose their lies. This is the very reason they resent you. You force them to confront the false self they've been hiding behind for so long. The narcissist's world is built on deception, a delicate web of lies about who they are, who others are, and who God is. They spend their lives constructing an image of themselves, powerful, righteous, deserving of admiration, superior to all. But when you enter their world, when you shine your light into their darkness, it disturbs everything. Your presence causes the very foundation of their carefully crafted illusions to crack and crumble. You do not play by their rules. You refuse to bend to their manipulations, to feed their insatiable need for ego-boosting validation. You do not offer empty praise or succumb to their narcissistic demands. Instead, you bring truth, truth that cannot be ignored, truth they cannot stand. Look at the story of King Saul in the Bible. He was magnetically drawn to David, but that attraction came at a heavy cost. David's anointing, the favor of God upon him, both mesmerized and tormented Saul. In 1 Samuel 18:12, we read, Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with David but had departed from Saul. Saul could not deny the favor that rested on David, and it both fascinated him and enraged him. This same toxic dynamic plays out in the life of every narcissist when they encounter someone who is chosen by God. They are inexplicably drawn to you, but the light of your truth exposes the very emptiness they refuse to face. At first they may shower you with compliments, calling you gifted, special, or wise. They may try to draw you in, seeking your approval, basking in the glow of your perceived greatness. But as time goes on, the admiration that once seemed genuine curdles into something far darker: envy. That envy soon transforms into hostility. They may begin to mock you, belittle your faith, or try to subtly undermine your confidence. The kindness in their words will turn cold, replaced by passive-aggressive remarks. The admiration they once expressed for you will morph into resentment, bitterness, and spite. Why? Because deep down they know they cannot possess what you have: true peace, unshakable joy, and divine authority. They cannot articulate it, but they see it in you. They know that you are different. You do not seek their approval, and that, to them, is a threat. Your independence from their validation shakes them to their core. They crave what you have, but they cannot bring themselves to submit to the same God who bestowed it upon you. Instead of humbling themselves, they seek to destroy what they cannot have. They will look for ways to discredit you, to highlight your faults, to drag you into conflict. This is why their behavior toward you is so erratic, so unpredictable. One moment they cannot seem to get enough of you, hanging on every word you say, seeking your attention and validation. The next moment they act as if you are nothing to them, treating you with cold indifference or even outright hostility. It is a cycle of contradiction, a roller coaster of attraction and rejection, praise and insult. This is how you know you are God's last warning to them. You are not just a passing figure in their life. You are the one chosen to expose the lies, the darkness, and the deception that has held them captive. You are the living testimony that truth can shatter even the most insidious illusions. They may fight it, resent it, or even try to destroy it, but they cannot escape it. And in their resistance, they are only proving that you are exactly who God has called you to be: a light in their darkness, a messenger of repentance before it is too late. This emotional whiplash you are experiencing is not a sign of failure. It is a confirmation, a resounding affirmation of your divine calling. Your presence in their life is not by accident, not merely the result of chance or random happenstance. No, it is part of a grand cosmic plan, a purpose designed by God Himself. You have been strategically placed in their life, not as a fleeting acquaintance, but as an irreplaceable vessel of truth. You are the reflection they cannot avoid, the mirror that forces them to see the very truth they have spent their life running from. Your presence in their world is intentional, and though they fight against it with every ounce of their being, they cannot escape it. You are not just another person passing through their life. You are God's final urgent warning, a clarion call to repentance before the doors of mercy close forever. This is a message of eternal significance, and it is a weighty responsibility to bear. But here's the catch: you must not take their resistance, their rejection, or their fluctuating behavior personally. Their struggle, their resentment, their anger, it is not truly directed at you. It is a struggle with something far greater. It is a battle with God Himself. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." The true battle is spiritual, fought on a battlefield far deeper than what can be seen with the naked eye. You are merely the vessel, the instrument, the tool that God is using at this moment to bring them to a moment of truth, to a crossroads of destiny, where their decision to turn toward repentance or embrace destruction will shape their eternity. This is not your fight to win or lose. This is God's battle, and you are the courageous warrior He has chosen to stand firm in the gap. Some will heed the warning, some will be softened by your truth, and they will make the life-changing decision to turn toward repentance. Others will harden their hearts, willfully choosing to remain entrenched in their sin, rejecting redemption in favor of destruction. But regardless of their response, your role does not change. You must stand firm in your identity, unwavering in your commitment to truth, and resolute in your purpose. Do not be shaken by their instability, by their emotional volatility, by their gaslighting or manipulation. Stand strong, for God has placed you here for a divine purpose that transcends everything you see happening around you. If you have ever felt the strange and paradoxical dynamic of being both drawn to someone and rejected by them, loved and despised in the same breath, then understand this: you are not alone. You are not a victim of this turmoil. You are bearing the weight of being chosen. But remember this: you were not sent to be consumed by them. You were sent as a warning to them, a beacon of light in their darkest moment. 2. You speak the truth they don't want to hear. For a narcissist, their entire existence hinges on deception. They live in a carefully constructed bubble of lies. Lies about who they are, lies about who others are, and tragically, lies about who God is. Their survival is dependent on these lies. They deceive themselves into believing they are more powerful, more deserving, more righteous than they are. They build their lives on a foundation of falsehoods, feeding their insatiable ego with illusions of control, grandeur, and victimhood. They manipulate and twist reality, shaping the world around them to fit their carefully curated narrative. But then you enter their life, and when you enter, something shifts. You are not just another fleeting person crossing their path. You are a force, a presence that disrupts the false reality they have so desperately tried to protect. You bring with you the one thing they cannot bear: the truth. And truth in its most powerful, unshakable form is not simply an idea or a principle. It is a weapon. It is a sword that cuts through the lies and the illusions, laying bare what has been hidden in darkness for so long. In John 38, Jesus says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." But for those who are enslaved by the deception, truth feels less like freedom and more like a prison. It threatens everything they have built their identity on. The narcissist is not enslaved by external circumstances or the reality that exists outside of them. No, they are enslaved by the chains of their lies. They are bound by their self-deception. So when you speak the truth, your words become a direct challenge to everything they have spent years convincing themselves and others to believe. Your voice carries power. Your words cut through the thick layers of manipulation they have used to control others. And deep down, though they may not admit it, they recognize that your words have the power to dismantle their entire existence. But instead of yielding to correction, they react with intense defiance. Their resistance will often be subtle at first: an eye roll, a dismissive laugh, a condescending smirk as if to pretend your words hold no weight. But inside they are seething. They are burning with resentment and fear. They may try to dismiss you, to distort your message before it even leaves your mouth. They will interrupt, try to change the subject, or find a way to manipulate the situation in their favor. But if you press on, if you continue to speak the truth, you will see their reactions escalate. Their subtle resistance will give way to full-blown hostility. You will see their anger boil over into rage, their manipulations turn into gaslighting, and eventually they will reject you outright. But let me be clear, this rejection is not because they do not understand the truth. It is because their hearts are hardened. As the Bible so poignantly describes in Jeremiah 17:9, the heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? The narcissist's heart is not merely resistant to truth, it is actively at war with it. It is not simply a matter of disbelief, it is a matter of pride and a refusal to submit to the reality they are desperately avoiding. Your truth confronts them at their core. It strips away their illusions, revealing the vulnerable, broken parts they have worked so hard to hide. And because they cannot bear to face the rawness of their soul, they lash out. But remember this, their fight is not against you, it is against the truth, and it is against the God who sent you to speak it. The battle they are fighting is far deeper than the surface-level animosity they project toward you. It is a battle of light versus darkness, truth versus lies, freedom versus enslavement. And in this war you are the messenger. You are the one who bears the light of truth into their darkness. Though they may resist it, though they may react with fury and hatred, your role remains unchanged. You must speak the truth, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it makes them angry, even when they reject you for doing so. You are a vessel for God's light, and that light will not be extinguished. It cannot be ignored. Though they may fight against it, the truth will find its way into their hearts, whether they accept it or not. And as you stand firm in the truth, remember this, you are not alone in this battle. God is with you, and His truth is more powerful than any lie they have built their life upon. You were not sent to be consumed by them. You were sent to be the living, breathing warning they cannot ignore. You are God's last call, and you must stand strong, unshaken, unyielding. Whether they embrace it or not, the truth you speak will accomplish its purpose. It will set them free, or it will expose them for what they truly are. They have spent years, perhaps even decades, mastering the art of shifting blame, avoiding responsibility, and manipulating reality to serve their every whim. To confront the truth you bring would require them to abandon the carefully constructed narrative they have worked so hard to build. It would force them to acknowledge the painful consequences of their actions, to come face to face with the harm they have caused, and most terrifying of all, to surrender the false identity they have clung to for so long. It would mean yielding control over the version of themselves they have perfected, the mask that shields them from accountability. But this is not something their pride will allow. Pride is a tyrant. It demands self-preservation at any cost, even if that means perpetuating lies and living in a perpetual state of delusion. This is why their reaction to the truth you speak is never neutral. It cannot be. They cannot afford to simply accept it, for it would shatter everything they have fought to protect. They may laugh it off, dismiss it with a casual flick of the wrist, pretending that your words have no power, but their eyes betray them. Their eyes are windows to the internal conflict raging inside them. They may argue, deflect, or downplay the weight of what you have spoken, but their frustration, their defensiveness, reveal the deep, unsettling impact your words have had on them. Deep down, they know you are right. They may attempt to make you feel as if you are the problem, to accuse you of being harsh, judgmental, or unloving. But this is not because they genuinely believe you are wrong. It is because they know with absolute certainty that you are speaking the truth, and that truth strikes at the very core of their self-deception. The truth you bring forces them to confront something they have avoided for a lifetime, the reality of who they are and the devastation they have caused. Just as a mirror forces a person to look at their reflection, your very presence compels them to face the brokenness they have spent their entire life running from. It is an unavoidable reckoning, and it fills them with fear, resentment, and rage. They cannot bear the light you shine on their darkness, and this is where the danger lies. They will try to turn the truth against you. Unable to defeat you with logic or reason, they will resort to manipulation. They will twist your words, distort your message, and make it seem as though you are the aggressor and they are the innocent victim. They will accuse you of being too harsh, too confrontational, too judgmental, and too unloving. This is not because they truly believe these things, but because they are desperate to make you doubt yourself. They want you to question the very words you speak, to silence the truth that flows from you. This is where the divine wisdom of Jesus in Matthew 10:16 becomes so poignant. I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Jesus knew that when you walk in the truth, you will be met with hostility, resistance, and sometimes even outright rejection. But he also knew that your words, your actions, and your obedience to his call are never in vain. Whether or not the narcissist receives your warning, your responsibility remains unchanged. Ezekiel 3:18-19 lays out a sobering truth. When I say to a wicked person, you will surely die, and you do not warn them, they will die for their sin, and I will hold you accountable for their blood. But if you do warn the wicked person, and they do not turn from their wickedness, they will die for their sin, but you will have saved yourself. This is the weight of your calling, to speak the warning, to deliver the message, and to stand firm in the face of rejection. You are not responsible for their response. You are responsible only for your obedience to deliver the truth. If they reject the warning, if they mock you, manipulate you, or attempt to cast you aside, understand this: their rejection is not a rejection of you. It is a rejection of the God who sent you. In Luke 10:16, Jesus said, "Whoever listens to you listens to me. Whoever rejects you rejects me." The weight of their decision, the consequence of their choice, is not yours to carry. Your job is to be faithful, to stand firm, to speak truth no matter the opposition. The burden of their rejection lies with them, not you. So here is my charge to you, my dear friend. Do not be silent. Do not shrink back in fear or uncertainty. Do not allow their resistance to make you question what God has placed inside you. You were not sent to be consumed by them. You were sent to be a warning, a voice crying out in the wilderness, to point the way to truth and redemption. Stand firm, speak boldly, and trust that God will handle the rest. Your obedience is your responsibility. How they respond is theirs. If this resonates with your spirit, if you feel the call to stand firm no matter the resistance, no matter the rejection, comment below with the words, "I will not be silent." Let this be your declaration, your unwavering commitment to walk in truth, to stand strong in the face of opposition, and to remain faithful to the God who called you. Because in the end, it is not about their reaction, it is about your obedience to the one who sent you. Your job is to deliver the message. How they receive it is their choice, not yours. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you're still watching this video with me. And don't forget to subscribe to our Why YouTube channel. The chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders knew the truth of what Jesus had spoken against them, and in their prideful defiance, they plotted against him. But when they saw that their attempts to manipulate and control him were failing, they hesitated. They realized that the crowd who saw the truth stood with him, and they were too afraid to act. Instead of confronting him directly, they retreated, unwilling to admit defeat. This, however, was not a sign of their surrender. It was a strategic recalibration. They did not stop because they had changed their hearts. They stopped because they needed a new strategy. They would regroup, find another way, and attempt once again to seize control. This is what happens when you stand your ground against manipulation. The narcissist will push as hard as they can, but when they realize their attempts to control you are failing, they will eventually be forced to retreat. But understand that their retreat is not an acknowledgement of defeat. It is simply a recalibration of their approach, a temporary withdrawal before they strike again. In their retreat, they may try to paint you as the villain, hoping to turn others against you, to discredit you in the eyes of those who may still be unsure. They will try to convince others that you are the one at fault, that you are unreasonable or overly harsh. They may resort to silent treatment, using it as a weapon, hoping to make you feel guilty for standing firm in your resolve. They might pretend that your resistance doesn't affect them, adopting a facade of indifference, but behind their mask they are unraveling, seething with frustration because, whether they admit it or not, they know they have lost control over you. Their entire sense of self-worth is tied up in being able to manipulate, dominate, and control the people around them. When you stand strong, unwavering, and unshaken, you are doing something they cannot comprehend or tolerate. You are denying them their power, and in that moment, you disrupt their entire existence. The battle you are in is not just with a person, it is a spiritual one. The enemy does not want you to realize the power you carry. They do not want you to recognize that your very presence, your stance of resistance is enough to expose the lies and the deception they have built their life. The enemy wants you to believe that you must conform, comply, or collapse under the weight of manipulation. But you were not placed in this situation to be controlled. You were placed in it to expose the illusion of control that they so desperately clung to. The Bible tells us in James 4:7, "Submit yourselves then to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you." This is a profound truth. Resistance is not a passive act. It is an active, deliberate stance of spiritual warfare. When you refuse to bow to manipulation, when you refuse to be swayed by deception, you are not just standing against a person, you are resisting the very spirit behind them. You are standing in alignment with God's truth, and in doing so, you make the enemy flee. The narcissist may never acknowledge your strength, they may never speak of it, but it does not change the reality that your resistance has shaken them. You have removed their ability to manipulate you, to control your emotions, to pull you into their web of chaos. The very realization that they no longer have power over you is what destroys them from the inside. This realization manifests in aggression, fear, in hostility. The narcissist reacts aggressively to your presence, not because you have done anything wrong, but because there is something in you that disrupts their carefully controlled world. Your presence alone is enough to provoke irrational hostility, cold indifference, or calculated aggression. The narcissist is not hostile toward you because of anything you have done wrong. It is because your very existence exposes them. A narcissist lives in a world of deception, a fragile illusion they must protect at all costs. They manipulate, distort, and control to maintain their self-image. But when you enter their life, something shifts. You do not play along with their games. You do not reinforce their delusions. Instead, you act as a mirror, reflecting to them the truth they have spent their entire life avoiding. And that truth, no matter how subtle or how direct, forces them to confront their lies. The aggression may come in many forms. Some narcissists explode in an uncontrolled fit of rage, their anger completely disproportionate to the situation. One small disagreement, one moment where you stand firm and refuse to comply, and suddenly you are the target of their fury. Others, more covert in their hostility, may resort to passive-aggressive tactics, silent treatment, backhanded comments, subtle jabs meant to destabilize your peace. But the message remains the same. They cannot stand the light within you, they cannot bear the truth you carry, and they will stop at nothing to try to extinguish it. When you walk into a room, you may notice a dramatic shift in their demeanor. Their tone of voice changes, their body language becomes stiff and defensive, their words become sharper, more venomous, as they attempt to undermine you, to destabilize your confidence. It is not because they dislike you. It is because they sense something deeper, something spiritual at play. John 3:19-20 tells us, "Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed." The aggression you face from the narcissist is not just personal. It is spiritual. There is something about you that disrupts the demonic strongholds they have embraced. Even if they do not acknowledge God, their spirit recognizes that you carry something different. You carry the light of truth, and that light shines into the darkness they so desperately cling to. Whether or not they consciously believe it, their darkness recoils at your presence. This battle is not about your resistance to one person. It is about standing firm in the truth of who God has called you to be. You are not meant to shrink back. You are not meant to conform or cave under the weight of manipulation. Stand firm, because your resistance is not just about defying one individual. It is about standing in the power of God's truth, a truth that shakes the very foundations of the lies they have built their world upon. When you remain unshaken, when you refuse to comply, you expose the fragile illusion they have worked so hard to create. And that exposure, that disruption, is what they fear most. Keep standing in the light, and remember that no matter how they lash out, no matter how they manipulate, the truth you carry will always be more powerful than the lies they cling to. Consider the powerful and terrifying reaction of the demons to the presence of Jesus in Luke 4:34. "What do you want with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." When Jesus entered the synagogue, a man possessed by an impure spirit immediately cried out. The demons recognized him instantly. Not the people, but the demons, who could not hide or pretend. They were exposed the moment Jesus entered the room, and their immediate reaction was fear and aggression. They knew the truth of who he was and what he represented, and they were powerless to stop it. They could not maintain their falsehoods in his presence. They were forced to confront their deception and rebellion. This is the same dynamic that happens when a narcissist encounters someone who embodies truth, authenticity, and peace. You do not even need to say anything. Your very presence, your unshakable authenticity, shatters their carefully constructed illusion. It is as if you carry something they cannot comprehend, something they cannot control, and that makes you a threat to everything they hold dear. They can feel the truth radiating from you, and it unnerves them in ways they cannot articulate. You remind them of all they lack: authenticity, humility, integrity, and most importantly, peace. You expose the fragile lies they have wrapped around their identity, and that disruption is enough to provoke their fury. They may try to silence you, discredit you, or turn others against you. They will resort to spreading lies, twisting your words, and distorting conversations to make you appear like the aggressor. They may try to provoke you, pushing your buttons, hoping to trigger a reaction that justifies their hostility. But remember this: this is not about you. This is about a battle far deeper than surface-level conflict. It is a spiritual battle between light and darkness, between truth and deception. Jesus knew that his followers would face this kind of opposition. He warned them in John 15:18-19, "If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belonged to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you." The world hated him because his light exposed the darkness, and in the same way the narcissist hates you not because of anything you have done, but because your presence, your authenticity, exposes the darkness they have been clinging to. A narcissist's aggression, attacks, their manipulation are not a reflection of your failure or inadequacy. Quite the opposite. It is a confirmation of your calling. When you understand this, you will stop taking their hostility personally. You will no longer feel the need to defend yourself, explain yourself, or try to make them see your point of view. You will understand that their battle is not with you, but with the truth you represent. You stand firm in this understanding. Their rejection, their aggression, does not define who you are. You do not fight back in the way they expect. You do not meet manipulation with more manipulation, or aggression with more aggression. You fight with wisdom, with prayer, with discernment, and most importantly, you fight by remaining in the light. You do not allow their hostility to pull you into darkness. You stand firm, knowing that they are not at war with you, they are at war with God. In these interactions, you may feel a deep spiritual weight. There is something different about the way they affect you. It is not simply a matter of personality clashes or misunderstandings. There is a spiritual battle at play. You can sense it deep in your spirit, even if you cannot fully articulate what is happening. There is a heaviness that accompanies your encounters with the narcissist, a burden that is not just psychological but spiritual. Each conversation may feel draining, as if an invisible force is trying to pull you into their web of lies and darkness. You may leave their presence feeling exhausted, confused, or spiritually burdened in a way that does not match the situation. It is as though their words, their energy, and their very presence carry a weight that is not human. You may feel emotionally depleted or spiritually attacked after an encounter, as if your light has been dimmed just by being around them. But this is the reality of spiritual warfare. You are not simply fighting a person, you are fighting the spiritual forces that operate behind them. This is the power of truth, of standing firm in the light. The narcissist will do everything in their power to make you doubt yourself, to make you question the strength of your convictions, and to pull you into their darkness. But every time you resist, every time you stand firm in the light, you weaken their stronghold, you expose their lies, and in doing so, you show them the truth they desperately want to avoid. The battle may be long and wearying, but know this: the light you carry cannot be extinguished by their aggression. Their attempts to manipulate, to control, to dominate are nothing more than desperate efforts to hold on to the darkness they cling to. And the more you stand firm in your truth, the more you expose that darkness. Your presence is a threat to the lies they've wrapped themselves in, and every time they react in anger, every time they try to silence you, it is a sign that you are doing exactly what you were meant to do, shining a light into the darkness, and the darkness will never overcome the light. This is not a normal relationship dynamic. This is not just a simple disagreement or a moment of frustration between two people. No, what you are experiencing is a profound battle. A battle between truth and deception, light and darkness, righteousness and rebellion. The Bible warns us in Ephesians 6:12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." What you are facing is not merely an emotional struggle, it is a spiritual warfare in the unseen realm. The narcissist you are dealing with is not just an individual with toxic traits. They are a vessel through which the enemy operates. The spirit of deception, pride, and control is working within them, trying to bend you to its will and drag you into its darkness. When you engage with a narcissist, it often feels like nothing gets through. You may try to reason with them, offering logic, empathy, or even the truth, but no matter how well structured your argument or how sincere your heart is, it seems as though your words hit a wall. Nothing penetrates. The more you try, the more resistance you face. Your words are twisted, rejected, or met with outright hostility. Why does this happen? Because this is not a battle of intellect or emotion. It is a battle of spirits. 2 Corinthians 4:04 reveals the root cause of this. The God of this world has blinded the minds of unbelievers so that they cannot see the light of the gospel that displays the glory of Christ. The enemy has cloaked their mind in darkness, preventing them from seeing the truth. This is not about your failure to communicate. This is about the resistance of the enemy who has taken root in their heart. You may begin to feel this spiritual weight in various ways. Before you even interact with them, you might experience a deep sense of anxiety, as if your spirit is bracing for a battle you know is coming. The tension in the air can be palpable, as though something unseen is actively resisting your peace. You might find yourself praying more fervently, feeling the need to guard your spirit from the forces of darkness that are at work. And after you've spent time with them, you might feel spiritually drained, like you've poured everything into an empty vessel, only to have it taken without any return. It can feel like you're fighting a battle that's exhausting, draining, and unending. This is not just about human interaction. This is divine positioning. God has placed you in their life for a specific reason, to be a final warning. You are the light in their darkness, the truth in their web of lies. But make no mistake, this assignment comes with a cost. When you stand for truth in the face of deep deception, the weight can sometimes feel unbearable. You are standing in the gap, and it's hard. Even Jesus, the Son of God, felt this weight when he confronted the hardened hearts of the religious leaders of his time. He knew they would not listen. He knew they would reject him. He knew they would rather destroy him than face the truth he brought. And yet he still wept over their refusal to turn to him. Matthew 23:37 captures his grief. "Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you, how often I have longed to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing." Jesus, the very embodiment of truth, was rejected by those he came to save. He felt the heartbreak of knowing that the very people he had come to redeem were too blind to see his light. And yet, despite the rejection, he did not back down from his calling. He did not shrink away from his purpose. He stood firm in the truth, knowing that his mission was to expose the darkness, even if they would not accept it. This is the same challenge you face. You stand firm in the light of truth, but the narcissist, blinded by the God of this world, refuses to see. The burden is heavy, and there are moments when you may feel like you are standing alone in the face of overwhelming opposition. But just as Jesus did not shrink from his mission, you too must remain steadfast. You are a vessel of God's truth, and while their resistance may feel like a personal attack, it is not really against you. It is a spiritual battle that seeks to undermine the truth you carry and prevent it from reaching their hearts. You are standing as a final warning to them, and though they may reject it now, God is using you to shine light in the darkness of their soul. Yes, this battle is difficult, and the emotional toll can be great. But remember, God has equipped you for this. You are his chosen instrument to expose the lies of the enemy and to bring light to those trapped in darkness. The narcissist's anger, their manipulation, and their deflection are not signs of your failure. They are signs of the impact you are having. Your resistance, your standing firm, is making the enemy uncomfortable because they know the truth is there. And while the narcissist may lash out, remember that your victory does not lie in their response. Your victory lies in your obedience to God's calling, in your ability to stand firm in the face of adversity, and in your refusal to be swayed by their attempts to pull you into their darkness. You are called to be a beacon of light in the darkness, to stand as a witness to the truth, and to remain unwavering in your commitment to God's will. Even when the battle feels overwhelming, even when you feel drained, take heart in knowing that God is with you. You may not see immediate results, but the seeds of truth you are planting are powerful. Keep standing firm, keep shining, and trust that in the end, the light will always overcome the darkness. It is painful to carry the truth in a world that actively rejects it. It can feel exhausting and draining to stand firm in the face of overwhelming deception when lies and manipulation are celebrated and often rewarded. But amid this struggle, there is something you must hold on to, a truth that will carry you through the heaviness of it all. The weight you feel is proof that your presence has a purpose. If you carried no authority, if you were not a threat to the enemy's plans, you would not feel this level of resistance. The very fact that you are encountering such fierce opposition is a sign that the truth you carry is shaking the foundations of darkness. It is a sign that the light within you is exposing the lies, the deception, and the manipulation that have been hiding in plain sight. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So, what do you do when the weight becomes too much? When it feels as though the battle is too great to bear alone? You stand. You stand firm in your purpose, knowing that your presence has a divine calling. You stand strong, putting on the full armor of God, as outlined in Ephesians 6:13-17. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand. Stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. You must protect your spirit, guard your heart, and remain rooted in prayer. You do not waste energy fighting fruitless battles with those who refuse to hear you. Their rejection, their deception, is not your burden to carry. Your job is to speak the truth, and then let God handle the rest. The weight may seem heavy at times, but it is not yours to carry alone. Jesus, in Matthew 11, verse 28-30, gives you this beautiful promise: "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." This is the invitation you must cling to in those moments of exhaustion, in those times when the weight of standing for truth feels unbearable. Jesus does not ask you to carry it all by yourself. He offers you his yoke, the yoke of his grace, his peace, and his strength. The burden you carry is not meant to crush you. It is meant to refine you, to grow you, and to draw you closer to him. You are not alone in this battle. Heaven stands with you. You have been chosen for this moment of divine confrontation, and amid your struggle, heaven is backing you. Your presence is not in vain. Your words are not in vain. Your resistance is not in vain. Every word of truth you speak, every stand you take, every time you refuse to bow to deception, it matters. It shakes the kingdom of darkness. You may not always see the fruit of your labor immediately, but know this: your stand for truth has eternal significance. You are standing on holy ground, in alignment with God's divine purpose, and he will honor your faithfulness. So do not be discouraged by the weight of this battle. Do not let the resistance, the rejection, or the hostility pull you into despair. You are called for such a time as this, and though the battle may be fierce, the victory is already secured in Christ. Stand firm, keep fighting with prayer, with truth, and with the armor of God. And when the burden feels too much, remember that Jesus is with you, offering rest for your weary soul. He is your strength, your shield, your refuge. You are not alone, and your stand for truth will never be in vain. As we come to the end of this powerful message, I want to ask you, what have you learned so far? Think about the truths we've explored together. How standing firm in your faith, in the light of God's truth, can make you a target for resistance, but also how this resistance is proof that your presence carries purpose. What is one thing you've learned today that you will bring into your own life? I encourage you to reflect on it and then leave your thoughts in the comments below this video. What part of this message spoke to you the most? How will you apply it in your daily life? And if you found value in this video, please leave a comment below, like, share, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. By subscribing, you'll be staying connected with us and will never miss out on more content that can help you grow in strength, wisdom, and purpose.